The door of the shuttle hissed as it sealed itself airtight. It was one of many small shuttles parked in Hangar 3 of the Unifier, which were in the process of getting filled with the surviving crew of the Star Treader. Since Admiral Miraton had used this opportunity to take the Unifier on a maintenance flight, he now had to finish it. So shuttles it was. Githai sat down and fastened her seatbelt. Soon this whole ordeal would come to a close. "Doctor?" She looked up. "Yes, Your Highness. I wanted to apologize, and I am also sorry that I am only telling you this now." "Yeah, Your Highness, what are you talking about? How I called the Star Treader a sentimental piece of scrap metal. Back then I thought you were just talking about its role as the royal vessel. I didn't know what it meant to you. I still wouldn't had it not by chance come up during my talk with Uncle." A subtle hum became audible as the pump started to suck the air out of the hangar so it could open. "It's all right. It wouldn't have changed the fact that we would have needed to leave it behind. It was necessary. I've come to terms with that. That doesn't make up for my choice of words, though." Nadine cocked her head. "Was that ship important?" The doctor sighed. She knew the Star Treader was lost. Trying to recover it outside of the secure routes with only a vague idea of its last position was futile. She might have said that she had come to terms with it. First ones, she had even believed it herself. But now that the topic had come up again, she realized that she hadn't. "While I can't really fault her, I wish Her Highness had just said nothing. For me it was. My father created it when I was just 2 cycles old. Back then," the princess explained, "all our ships were of a fairly practical design. My parents wanted something more prestigious for our embassy. They announced a contest and Troku won, as his design was both aesthetical and highly functional." Kithe nodded. "It's a shame you only saw the lower decks. That ship really was a piece of art. Unfortunately, he never lived to see his creation fly. He was killed by a competitor who had bet everything on winning the contest so he could pay off his debt. In his honor, the king raised our family into nobility. It was thanks to this that I was able to become a royal physician and work on the ship that became his memento. It was like..." Her voice failed her, and she didn't manage to finish that sentence. "Oh, first ones, pull yourself together, Githai. You're a grown woman." "Do you still have the blueprint?" The princess cocked her head. "Of course, but why do you ask?" "Well, by the sound of it, what he made was the blueprint, right? Then as long as the ship can be rebuilt, his memento lives on, doesn't it? It might not be the same ship, but wouldn't it still be his ship?" The doctor was stumped. She had never looked at it that way, but thinking about it, it made sense. Her father's legacy was the plan. The ship itself was just a result of it. She didn't know what to say except, "Thank you, Nadine. Seriously, thank you." The face of the alien girl took on a more reddish color again. Githai swore to herself that she would eventually figure out what these color changes meant. I didn't do anything." "Yes, you did." The hangar opened and their shuttle took off, setting course towards Homi. As the forests of their homeworld flew past under them, buildings became visible in the distance. "That is the city of Kalhanar," the princess explained to Nadine, "but most people simply call it Harbor Town because of the gigantic spaceport. Pretty much everything that has to do with other worlds happens here. See that wide building over there? That is the Star Palace, where I live, and so will you." "You don't have to do that. Something simple would be more than enough." "Don't be silly. You are a royal guest and will be treated as such." "My office is also in the palace," Githai chimed in. "Not to mention that having you there makes it way easier for us to tend to your special needs. Which reminds me..." She pulled out her datapad and gave the fruits of her labor to the princess. "Ah, perfect. Nadine, this is a list of every nutrient and potential nutrient on our planet. I would like you to go through that list and tell us which of those you need and which are poisonous to you. I will also call in my personal dressmaker to make you something better than, well, this." "Thank you, Your Highness. I won't say no to that," the small alien said with audible relief. "If you are uncomfortable," the princess pointed out, "then you are free to take the blanket off. You don't have to wear that just for the sake of it. No one will fault you for being naked for a few days." Nadine's eyes widened, and her face became its darkest shade of red yet. "Oh, what is that supposed to mean?" Githey kind of expected that reaction, considering that Nadine's original clothes had had a pretty excessive amount of fabric by Von Airy standards. You see, the doctor explained, for most of our history, we didn't wear any clothes outside of protective gear. Most Von Airy still don't. The concept of fashion is something we only learned when we met other species, and to this day, clothes are considered more of a luxury than a necessity. Amongst nobles like us, it is expected because not wearing clothes is considered a sign of financial struggle for us. But commoners only wear them if they are either wealthy or work for a noble that gives them uniforms. I see. I'm still going to decline, though. The princess nodded. Suit yourself. Anyway, if you need anything else, please don't hesitate to ask. Nadine thought for a moment. A language tutor would be good. Are you sure? The princess asked after a pause. That's of course no problem, but you don't need to inconvenience yourself. Feel free to rely on the translator. That thing is not always reliable. You said so yourself. It also doesn't help me read. Sure, but you can always rely on us for that. Githey could understand why the princess was so hesitant. Learning a language was a long and tedious process, and she wanted Nadine to feel like a guest. Then again, Nadine's brain was highly capable. Maybe it wasn't as hard for her kind. Nadine sighed. Your Highness, with all due respect, you just now asked me to go through a list that I cannot read. I see your point. They reached the landing platform in front of the Star Palace and the doors opened. As they exited, a line of servants greeted them. Some of them threw weird glances at Nadine, but they were all professional enough to not start whispering. As the palace doors were opened for them and they entered, Nadine suddenly stopped dead in her tracks and jumped backward. Before anyone could react, a large amount of water dropped from the ceiling and hit the place where the small alien had been standing, and where the princess was still standing. For a moment, everyone was frozen, while the princess stood drenched in the doorframe. She then took a deep breath before opening her mouth. Kirtan,